everybody is coming. I'm so happy. My character is badass, but now best to the ball.
Tony Jaa stands as one of the most iconic martial arts figures in film history. His explosive 2003 breakout, Ong-Bak, Muay Thai warrior, reshaped action cinema. Yet shock rippled through fans when rumors emerged claiming he had received a life prison sentence. So what actually went wrong? The deeper you look into the story, the stranger it becomes. Don't click away just yet, because by the end of this video, you'll clearly see how one of the world's most admired action heroes found himself at the center of such an extreme controversy. Tony Jaa's real legal struggles. Tony Jaa became trapped in a brutal conflict with Saha-Mongkol Film International, the studio that made him famous but also sought to dictate his every move. And if injuries can derail an action star's career, a toxic contract can do just as much damage. Here's what happened. In 2003, as Jaa's career was just taking off, he signed a 10-year deal with Saha-Mongkol Film. On the surface, that seemed reasonable, but the hidden details told a darker story. This wasn't just restrictive, it was suffocating. The agreement barred him from working outside the studio without approval. And his pay? Just $1,600 a month. Yes, really. Picture headlining global hits like Ong-Bak while earning less than many office workers. While the studio raked in millions, Jaa remained locked in a deal that stifled his growth beyond Thailand. At first, Jaa likely accepted it, since Saha-Mongkol had launched his career. But as his international fame exploded, the restrictions became unbearable. Filmmakers from Hollywood, Hong Kong, and China lined up to work with him, yet every opportunity was shut down by the studio. They refused to approve offers or even negotiate. In simple terms, they told him, "You work for us and no one else." The frustration was overwhelming. Once celebrated as the next global action phenomenon who brought Muay Thai to Hollywood, Tony Jaa suddenly made headlines for something far darker, a supposed life sentence. How does someone leap from death-defying stunts and box office success to stories of spending life behind bars? What went wrong? Who betrayed him? And could this outcome have been avoided? Stay with me, because the truth behind these claims is stranger than fiction. Then came the real chaos. As his original 10-year contract neared its end in 2013, Jaa believed he was finally free. Saha-Mongkol disagreed. They claimed the contract had already been renewed for another decade, extending it to 2023. Here's the troubling part. The renewal notice wasn't sent to Jaa at all. Instead, it went to his estranged sister in Surin, hundreds of miles away, who signed it. Jaa never consented, yet he was suddenly told he was bound for another 10 years. Absurd? Absolutely. At that point, Jaa snapped. He labeled the situation business slavery and hired lawyers. His team argued the contract had ended in 2013 and that the renewal was legally meaningless. A full-scale legal war followed. And just when things seemed maxed out, Fast and Furious 7 entered the picture. Landing that role was massive, his Hollywood debut, and a chance to finally break free from being boxed in as a Thai action star. Saha-Mongkol immediately pushed back. They claimed he had no right to accept the role, publicly criticized him, and filed a lawsuit against Jaa, Universal Pictures, and United International Pictures for $49 million. Their logic, they invested heavily in building his fame and wanted a share now that he was cashing in. They even tacked on an extra 7.5% interest just to sweeten the blow. While lawsuits often drag on quietly, Saha-Mongkol took things further. In 2015, they secured a court order blocking Furious 7 from being released in Thailand. Imagine that, a worldwide blockbuster frozen in Jaa's home country because of a contract dispute, a complete nightmare. And the damage didn't stop there. The lawsuit threatened skin trade with Dolph Lundgren and SPL2, A Time for Consequences. Another project, A Man Will Rise, collapsed entirely and remains unfinished. Meanwhile, Tom Young-gung 2 flopped in 2013, partly because Jia refused to promote it amid the legal chaos. His international and local careers were both taking hits. Then, unexpectedly, everything shifted. In July 2015, Sahamongko Film abruptly dropped their $50 million lawsuit. Details were never made public, but Jia later stated, "With the assistance of all relevant parties, Sahamongko Film and I have been able to settle our differences. We have therefore decided to end all legal actions against one another."
In short, a deal was struck, and he was finally free. While none of this ever resulted in actual prison time, it severely damaged Jia's career. These should have been his peak years, building on Ong-Bak and The Protector, expanding globally and cementing his legacy. Instead, he spent those years buried in legal battles and contract restrictions. By the time it ended, precious momentum was gone, and in entertainment, timing is everything. Fortunately, Jia eventually rebounded. He returned to international films, landed stronger roles, and finally gained the freedom he had fought so hard to achieve. Still, his journey stands as a warning. Long-term contracts can be deadly for rising stars. In this industry, the fiercest fights don't always happen on screen. They unfold in boardrooms, courtrooms, and fine print that can make or destroy a career. If there's one lesson from Tony Jia's ordeal, it's this: talent alone isn't enough. One bad deal can turn a dream career into a living nightmare. The real challenges Tony Jia has faced. From the outside, Tony Jia's rise looks like a fairy tale, but when you peel back the layers, it's a wild ride filled with sharp drops, shocking turns, and moments where his entire future hung in the balance. You might assume that becoming a martial arts icon guarantees unlimited success and wealth, yet Tony Jia's reality told a very different story. The toughest fights of his life didn't happen on screen. They unfolded behind closed doors and nearly destroyed him. Everything began when the runaway success of Ong-Bak convinced him he was ready to tackle an ambitious new goal, directing Ong-Bak 2 himself. And really, it seemed like a reasonable move at the time. He had already established himself as one of the most thrilling action stars of his era, so moving into directing felt like a natural evolution. Unfortunately, the situation unraveled faster than anyone expected. The film's initial budget was set to 100 million baht, a bold yet realistic figure. Soon after, expenses began to spiral, and the project quickly started hemorrhaging cash. By the second year of production, reports suggested the budget had exploded beyond 300 million baht. Worse still, Jia found himself trapped at the center of the chaos. Alongside directing and starring, he was choreographing the fight scenes and managing his own production company, Ayara Film. That level of responsibility was overwhelming for a single person, and it didn't take long before cracks started to show. Even those within the production could see that Jia was barely keeping afloat. Akarapal Jo Techara Tanaprasert, whose family controlled Sahamongko, later revealed that Jia was under such extreme stress that he needed extended breaks just to plan the film's final martial arts sequences. This wasn't a minor setback, it was a full-scale production crisis. With the budget ballooning and Jia stretched beyond his limits, the entire film teetered on collapse. Then, without warning, Jia simply vanished. There were no dramatic announcements or official statements to explain it. In June 2008, he showed up to work one day, and by the next, he was gone. Attempts to contact him failed completely. His phone was disconnected, leaving the crew in disarray. Predictably, speculation exploded. Had he been hurt, abducted, or mentally overwhelmed? No one had answers. His mentor, Panarit Krai, even searched meditation caves, believing Jia might have withdrawn from the world to regain clarity. Still, weeks passed with no trace of him. Confusion spread across the industry, and his disappearance only deepened the turmoil surrounding Ong-Bak 2. Eventually, a Thai newspaper located him.
He wasn't injured or kidnapped, and he wasn't secretly planning his next move. Instead, he was staying in what was described as a safe house, visibly drained and emotionally worn down. The truth was grim. He had personally covered parts of the production with his own money and was now financially ruined. He couldn't afford his mortgage. His electricity had been shut off. The situation was catastrophic, spilling far beyond his career and into his everyday life in ways few outsiders had realized. Even after resurfacing and attempting to move forward, relief never came. Sahamonko seized control of the project, and Pracha Pinkau, director of the original Ong-Bak, was brought in to complete the film. To complicate matters further, the studio split Ong-Bak 2 into two separate releases, Ong-Bak 2 and Ong-Bak 3, in hopes of recouping losses. That choice proved costly. The narrative suffered, leaving both films feeling fractured and unfinished. For Jha, it was a devastating creative blow. What was meant to be his defining passion project and director's debut was no longer his to shape. By then, the strain had reached its breaking point. Financial collapse, studio politics, and relentless pressure had drained him completely. In May 2010, he made a life-altering decision. He stepped away from filmmaking and entered a Buddhist monastery as a monk. He chose tranquility and spiritual reflection over an industry that had consumed him. The move stunned many, but it was hard to question his choice. After enduring so much, escape felt necessary. Naturally, his time as a monk wasn't permanent. He eventually returned to acting. Still, the challenges persisted. His contract with Sahamonko restricted his freedom, limiting roles and preventing him from fully capitalizing on his international reputation. And although Tony Jaa remains a martial arts legend, his journey stands as a powerful reminder that fame and success often hide a far harsher reality.
Tony Jaa devoted years to forging his body into one of Hollywood's most lethal fighting machines. Yet today, the battle people talk about isn't on screen. It's a rumor about his freedom. How did the Ong-Bak and the Protector star end up being linked to claims of a life sentence? Where did things supposedly fall apart for someone who once ruled the action world? Was it bad timing or a shadow from his past resurfacing? Stay with me, because once you learn what really happened to Tony Jaa, his films may never feel quite the same again. Tony Jaa's alleged imprisonment. If you've spent any time scrolling online, you may have seen posts insisting the Ong-Bak legend is locked away for life. It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Still, for many who came across those claims, it sparked genuine confusion. And in an era where false stories travel faster than facts, that reaction makes sense. So let's clear this up immediately. Tony Jaa is not imprisoned, has never been imprisoned, and is absolutely not serving a life sentence. That raises the obvious question: where did such a strange story come from? As with many celebrity myths, it began with a simple mix-up. In short, people blurred the line between his roles and his real life. Much of it appears to stem from Kill Zone 2, also called SPL2: A Time for Consequences, a 2015 film in which Jaa played a prison guard. The story follows an undercover cop who was betrayed and jailed under a fake identity. Somehow, that plot was twisted into claims that Tony Jaa himself was behind bars, and from there, the rumors only grew. When Tony Jaa briefly stepped away from the spotlight, speculation intensified. During that time, he even became a Buddhist monk. But here's the reality. Temporary monkhood is a common and respected tradition in Thailand. It wasn't an escape, a scandal, or a disappearance. It was simply cultural practice. Naturally, the internet did what it always does. People began asking if he had quit acting or was hiding something. Those questions quickly spiraled into talk of him leaving the industry entirely, and somehow that morphed into the idea that he must be in prison. Take a moment to actually fact-check, and the story collapses instantly. There is zero evidence of Tony Jaa ever serving jail time. No credible reports, no verified news, nothing. His IMDb page continues to list new projects, and major outlets discuss his upcoming films, not any imaginary sentence.
If he were truly serving life in prison, it would dominate headlines worldwide. What is documented, however, is that he faced minor legal issues in the past, nothing remotely close to incarceration. Beyond that, his personal life is stable as well. Tony Jaa isn't struggling behind the scenes, he's doing just fine. He has been married to Piyarat Chodiwatananant since 2012, and together they have 2 daughters. A glance at his social media shows a free and active life, working selectively, spending time with family, and remaining deeply involved in martial arts. If there's one lesson here, it's how easily repetition turns fiction into fact. The Tony Jaa prison rumor perfectly shows how movie narratives can be mistaken for real events. And when an actor is famous for intense, high-stakes roles, some viewers inevitably assume the drama is real. The reality, though, is simple. Tony Jaa isn't locked in a cell anywhere. He's still doing what he's always done, dominating martial arts cinema and reminding audiences why he remains one of the greatest action stars ever. Tony Jaa's current projects and activities. Rather than slowing down, Tony Jaa continues to prove his staying power in action films. His presence still carries serious weight in the genre. In 2023, he joined The Expendables 4 as Daecha, because no massive, explosive action franchise feels complete without him. He also starred in Striking Rescue, a Chinese martial arts film where he plays An Bai, a Muay Thai expert driven by revenge after the brutal murder of his wife and daughter. If that doesn't feel like pure Tony Jaa energy, then what does? This movie mattered a lot because it signaled his comeback as a leading force in martial arts films after several years mainly in supporting roles. And to be fair, he stood out in those as well. He appeared as Jack Jaa in Detective Chinatown 3 in 2021 and portrayed Hunter in Monster Hunter in 2020, showing that even in major Hollywood productions, his presence leaves a mark. But don't assume he's content to simply live off past achievements. His future projects make it clear he's still challenging himself and the genre. The biggest highlight? An ambitious Muay Thai film trilogy. And this isn't just another sequel project. It's supported by Stars Collective and Thailand's Film Odyssey Company Limited, with Jaa doing far more than acting. He's also taking on the executive producer role. So yes, he's not only delivering the action on screen, he's shaping the vision behind it. He'll star as Surya, a talented young fighter who mysteriously travels back to the Ayutthaya era. Take a moment to let that sink in. A Muay Thai story mixed with time travel? It's a bold idea that feels new while still staying true to Jaa's hard-hitting style. And honestly, who else could pull that off so convincingly? Still, Jaa's focus isn't limited to filmmaking alone. He understands that staying relevant today also means staying connected to fans. That's why he's cultivated a strong online presence, especially on YouTube. Anyone questioning his relevance should probably watch his recent work before making that claim. Because one thing Tony Jaa has consistently done is silence doubters, sometimes with a flying kick. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe for more content. For more exciting stories, click the video appearing on your screen now.